For this project, you need your black piece of paper, your feather, a pencil, and a white colored pencil. What we're going to try to do is we are going to try to recreate this feather. Oof. And I've got floofs of my feather flying over. So I'm going to put my feather in one spot, and then I'm going to start lightly with the pencil. It won't show up a lot on the black paper, but it'll show up just enough. So I'm going to start with the spine of my feather. So I'm going to give myself a nice tall spine, and it looks like I put a curve where I didn't need a curve. And this is just to kind of make it so that when we go with the white colored pencil, we don't have to worry so much about erasing. And then it looks like it gets bigger as it goes, and then it comes down to kind of like a rounded point like that. Now, the only other thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to kind of draw roughly how this is going to go, just to kind of give myself an idea of where I need to start and stop when it comes to my white colored pencil. All right, I'm actually going to move this off to the side, and I drew mine kind of big, so I don't know if he's all going to fit on there. Because if I'm looking at my feather, this is about the size of about a third of that. So, I'm going to be going right up to the edge with mine. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to color in lightly my spine. Now, the reason why I say lightly is because with this, we are not actually drawing in the shadows like we're used to. We are drawing in the highlights. So instead of pushing harder to make it darker, we are going to push it harder to make it lighter. So I am going to look at my feather here, and it looks like it's brighter on the one side. So I'm going to color harder on that side. And then it kind of gets darker as it goes there. All right. Now, for my the little lines in my feather, I'm not just going to go back and forth. I'm going to actually look at what's going on there, and it's like a bunch of little lines, and I've got some that kind of go up like this. They're going to go off the edge. I've got some that go out really far like this, and then they have a lot of little lines. So your goal is to just slowly build up the white so that it kind of matches what you have. So like right here, I've got like this curvy one. So I'm going to curve it like that. And I can see like closer to my spine, it's more see-through. There's not as much white showing up. But farther away where there's more fluff on my feather, there is going to be more showing up. So my goal is to kind of try to draw what I see. All right, so as you can see, I've been slowly but surely building up. And now I'm going back in and I'm looking closer at my feather. I can pick it up and I can look at it, but for me it's actually easier to see it when it's down here because it's on the black then because I have a white feather. And I am just going to keep adding. Mine's a really fluffy feather. Some of you guys might not have as fluffy of feathers. Everybody's feather is going to look a little bit different. And if you're using a real feather and not one of my synthetic ones that I handed out, then it's going to look completely different. All right, so you can see I've got a lot of these little extra little tufts here that I have to go back in. So it's all about you're slowly but surely building up and adding all those little details. And you can see the more white I put down, the lighter it's going to get because like I said, instead of adding in the darks like we're used to, we are actually adding in the lights this go around. And so like I've got a nice straight line because it's a synthetic feather, remember? So like it's darker in here by just a little bit. And then it gets lighter and I've got lots of fluffiness down here. I'm just going to keep building and building. And so I'm only just focusing on one side to start with. And then I can start worrying about the other side. But my goal is to kind of make it as close to the real feather as possible. All right, so as you can see, the direction that you color with this project is really important, because if I had just colored this straight up and down, I wouldn't get that kind of fluffy aspect that I'm looking for. So now when I'm looking at this, to me it looks like this side is actually lighter than that side. So that's now what I'm going to have to do when I go to this side, is I'm going to have to try to make it lighter than that side. So like I said, you're constantly looking at what your feather looks like and trying to make it look like that on your piece of paper. All right, so I've kind of got my basic stuff in here, and now I'm just going to go in just like I did with the other side, but I'm actually not going to push as hard because I don't want to get too bright too fast. So I'm looking at the fluffs again. I'm going in and I'm adding those things. I don't think I have as little many stringy ones as I did on the other side, so I'm kind of just going to keep adding layer after layer. And I'm going to look at what I'm actually working on. So like right here, I've got some strings that go this way. So I'm going to color it this way. But then as I go farther down, they go back to this direction. Okay, so make sure that the whole time you are constantly going back and looking at what your feather actually looks like. All right, so I've got most of my values in, and so now I'm just going to go in and I'm going to start adding in those little details again. So like the little fluffs, the extra little lines. And I've actually had to sharpen my pencil quite a bit for this. So don't be surprised if you have to keep sharpening your pencil, because it all depends on how hard you push and whatnot. Now, your paper is also double-sided for those of you who I sent it home to. So just make sure, like, if it looks absolutely nothing like it, you can always just use the other side. That's the great thing about the white colored pencils, is that it doesn't bleed through like some of our other materials do. So I'm still building up down here, and it looks like I think I need to make this a little bit brighter and fluffier. All right, so you're just going to keep going until your feather, if you think that this looks like this. And so then when I take my picture, I'm going to make sure that they are together so that Miss Covart, myself, can see if they look like each other.